You're set.
Yeah.
You living there yet?
I figured I'd bring my sleeping bag and camp out a few nights.
You have power yet?
No,
It's taking too
I mean, the power's all, I mean, you know, it's all run on the ground and everything. They're waiting for Arundel Homes to call them and say, we're ready to hook it up.
Yeah, we're all set.
All set? Okay. I'm going to call the Monday, October 24th, Selectmen's meeting to order. We'll start with the pledge of the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first item is approval of the agenda. We have a couple of items to add.
Yeah, I have a finance committee report.
Okay, finance committee. And then under business, we have the warrant. Anybody got anything else?
Move to approve as amended.
Second. Motion by Jason, seconded by Phil. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries. Next item is public forum. This is where we take a public comment from any non-agenda items. Anybody from the public interested in making any comment, step right on up. Make sure the microphone is turned on. Need to turn on the mics, make sure we get it on tape here, so.
Okay. Here we go. Okay.
And make sure we know who you are, but make sure you
Okay.
state
Well,
your.
my name's Shake Hawkins. I'm here tonight representing the Arundel Historical Society. We want to start or renew an old tradition, New England tradition. And I'll give you a little back history on it. There was back in 1908, the Boston Post newspaper, the publisher wanted to amp up his circulation. So he thought it'd be a great idea in true American fashion to have a gimmick to do this. So what he proposed was, and what they did was they sent what they call the Boston Post cane to various towns in New England, Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and maybe Connecticut even. And what this cane does is it was presented to the oldest resident in the town, and then it was kept by the resident sometimes. However, it was sometimes lost or stolen or whatever. Anyway, we want to renew the tradition. We're calling it the Arundel Heritage Cane. And we would like to ask your permission to hang a display case, and we have a plaque with about 20 blank plates on for the future, for citizens in the future to have the oldest resident, they would get their name on the plaque right beside it, and we will keep the cane and the case here. We will present the cane, but then take it back and give them a certificate and keep the cane here because towns have had a problem keeping the canes. They get lost, stolen, or whatever. So that was, we decided to, do it that way. What we need is permission to hang it in the fall. That's basically what we need.
So the resident that's getting this cane doesn't even get a chance to try it out?
Yeah, they could.
It doesn't leave the room.
The cane's over here, it's in this case here.
Jake made that case.
And then we have a plaque that will go beside it. And this plaque says, Arundel Heritage Cane in honor of Arundel's oldest citizen, presented by the Arundel Historical Society.
Whose name is on it, Jake?
Pardon?
Whose name is on it?
Nobody's name is on it yet. We are searching for we put an article in the paper. We have an idea who we know is going to be on it. But we're still waiting for certain numbers for the nominations to come in. So that's where we're at. We're hoping within the next week or two that finalize that.
And we'd
But
like,
anyway, we need your permission to hang it on the wall.
and we'd like to use the space to the right, in between those two doors. So
Yeah,
that to the left is one plaque and to the right would be the other one.
The case would be here, the plaque would be here, or vice versa. But in that area there. If we already have a plaque, then, you know, dedication plaque right here. We thought that would be appropriate unless you guys have another place you want to put it. That is all I have to ask.
Good, thank you very much. Well, we usually don't take action on public comment, but I'm asking for a motion. If anybody is interested in it, take a motion to allow it.
Yeah, I'll make a motion. Do we allow a cane to be hung in, not necessarily there, but anywhere in this building?
Okay, a motion by Jason, seconded by Tom. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
I'm gonna abstain.
And Velma abstains because she's on the Historical Society.
That was the one I suggested that.
Good.
So I'll consult with Keith, you and I, as for.
That's fine, Jane.
Install, because I have a, it's called a French cleat that will hang, it's just a piece of, anyway, you'll see.
Yeah, anything you have to, do, just let me know.
Yeah,
We'll make sure you can get in and hang it.
okay. Good, thank you very much.
Good. Thank you, Jake. All right, next item on the agenda is minutes of October 11th, 2022. Or approval of the minutes, I should say. Approved by Tom and seconded by Phil. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Next item on the agenda is RSU 21 Finance Committee update. Velma?
Okay, well, the finance committee met last Thursday, October 13th. And one of the things they talked about is the fact that they had gone out with RFPs and bids for power and for fuel. And they're looking at main power options for their oil, but for transportation, apparently because they have a company that comes in with the truck and fills the buses, they cannot with transportation get a flat fixed fee for the diesel for the buses. They also discussed capital project planning. And what they would like to do is any capital project planning that comes up is be able to discuss this with all three towns, where they would take place, when they were needed, and the potential for the long-term plan, including all participants. And the one thing they did mention were things like playground improvements. So if they were going out for playground improvements for one playground, they could work with all of the towns, perhaps on playground improvements and equipment. And the audit report should be in November. They also discussed a lot of policy changes that are going to the policy committee and talking about why these changes are needed. And they were talking about big discussions for changes on their RFPs. And they also would like to have the amount that they have to go out to bid is only $10,000 for them. And they say it should be raised, but it should be raised only for those items not in the budget. So that's something else that they were discussing. They also looked at all of the, where the budget stood for the year, and everything is right on schedule and looking good. And general fund expenditures are also right where they should be. And the legal expenses budget was for $175,000, and so far they've only spent 18,000. So they're really cut back there. And they also gave us a report. This is a new way of doing it. When we voted on items at the meeting for the school, and they looked at a summary of every item, 1, 2, right straight down, how much it was, how much was approved. And they're also giving us a report on how much is spent and with the grand totals of where we are now. And for every article, Article 1, regular instruction, how much it is, how much has been spent, and how much is still available. So it was, I like the reports. I'm going to just give these to Keith, if anybody would like to see them.
Who chairs the finance committee now?
Art LeBlanc. Although he was sick, so Gail Washington was doing it, yeah.
Good. Any comments on that? All right, moving over to the manager's report.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just a few updates here. The first update is obviously we were expecting some roof replacement proposals. We received none through our last bid. So again, I suspect that folks are busy and they're just not ready to commit to anything at this point. So we'll go ahead and put it back out to proposals. I don't believe the roof is leaking, so it's not like it's an emergency issuance at this point, but we'll keep plugging away at that. The other thing is that I provided you a letter that I sent to a property owner on River Road in reference to a fence that's in the right of way. Provided some thoughts as to what our expectations would be in terms of getting it moved. Because it actually is probably, I'd say 8 to 10 feet within our right of way on the corner. I spoke again to the property owners today, and they sort of indicated to me that they understand that the letter has been written and that there may be some action, but they would like to leave it until the spring. And whether it gets damaged or not is the risk that they're willing to take. They indicated to me that the reason they're taking that position at this point is that they actually can't afford to move it. They spent $15,000 putting this fence in, and you would have thought that somebody would have looked at the property lines to ensure that they were on their own land, but they are well aware that they're not. They're well aware of the risk that they would take in the event that it stays. And I guess I'm just looking to see if you have any objections to that. I indicated to the property owner today that I would be just talking to you folks about it again tonight. And they would just like to have some flexibility on it. They did say to me, and I don't recall my conversation this way, but they did say to me that I said it could remain for the winter. When I spoke to them in early fall, I don't recall saying that to them. I'm not going to deny it, say that I didn't say it, but we did go down, we looked at it, Public Works has looked at it. Public Works feels that it should be moved. I think it should be moved. The property owner understands it needs to be moved, but would just like some flexibility in its movement. So I'm not objectionable to providing them some more time, but they're putting a big risk out there, because if you drive down River Road, you'll see what I'm talking about. This sits right out there. It's probably another I'd say 3.5, 4 feet off the road. But during plowing, coming around that corner in heavy wet snow, I'm afraid that it's gonna get broken, so.
Does it impede public works at all?
It does not. It doesn't at this point. You know, generally, the only obstructions that we allow on the right of way are really mailboxes. And our policy there is once a mailbox gets destroyed, we go ahead and we try to make good on the mailbox. But we're talking a huge fence here. So I guess if you have no objections to having it moved, I may just have them sign a release of liability, of not holding us liable, even though we're not statutorily, but just get another piece of paper indicating that, you know, they're running the risk, not us. So.
I agree with that.
No misunderstanding about they're taking all the risks.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I thought you would all say, and I appreciate that. So we'll make that happen. The other thing I had with you was the pictures and the updates of the Mack truck and where the status of it now is. You can notice by the photographs that we have that it's in pieces. The frame rails, from what I understand, are on site now. They're waiting for a couple more parts from Mack to show up so they can begin assembling it. But, you know, our zeal of trying to get it down there at the end of the last winter session to get it ready for this year is not going to happen. It's not going to be ready until, once we get it back, we've got to put the dump cart back on, all of the plow equipment has to go back, all the hardware has to go back on, and then it has to be serviced. I think the truck needs to have an engine service and things like that prior to going back online. So we've making adjustments now. That truck is usually the one that Terry drives. So Terry's going to be driving our big 6-wheel military truck to start the season. I talked to him today. He's really enthusiastic about that. So. But they indicated to us that they'll try their hardest to try to get the truck done and get it back in our hands so we can get it serviced. But it's not going to be ready for the first of winter.
So do we have any idea at all when it's gonna be back? Or are they, no?
No. Roger went down there in typical Roger form. You know, he doesn't particularly resonate with emails, so he spoke to the horse's mouth. So they had, I think they had avoided some phone conversations with him at one time. So, but I think they're on good terms and it will get done. It's just waiting for those pieces.
Okay. Takes care of the manager's report. Next item on the agenda of business. Let's see, website, Arundel business website.
Yeah, I provided you a memo based on some observations and discussions I had with John reference to the website. In addition to that, I also looked at other neighboring websites in terms of whether the municipality takes the initiative to develop a business directory or whether or not they provide flexibility to have a link from their website to another directory to provide that information. Most of the communities that are around us do just that. They're either, Biddeford Saco has a business association that they provide a link to both. Biddeford and Saco does. Kennebunk Port has a Kennebunk Port Business Association, which if you link on theirs and you press that, you go to the associations. And I believe that the Kennebunk has a link to the chamber. So
Just a change.
you just the chamber. So I really have some heartburn over this. Because, you know, if we take the initiative, I think we're providing, we're running the risk of maybe missing somebody or providing a service to a private entity that may have some sort of reaction to our public website. So I'm not opposed to having a link to a site, be it any group or organization that's affiliated with Arundel that provides that, or the chamber itself, but pretty reluctant to have us develop it and continue to keep it updated, and ensure that everybody is mentioned. So that's my thoughts on it, and I think I try to relay that in my memo to you. John and I have spoken via email, and his position is all or nothing. We either do them all and get them all on their website and make that effort, or don't do any. So I'm inclined not to do any, but provide an opportunity to link to something else.
Well, if we link to something else, you get to that same argument that, well, geez, you know, I'm not a member of the chamber, so why, so it's, you know, all or nothing.
Right, that very well may be,
Yeah, that's just,
and that may be what we have, but if we take a position that we're not the ones developing it, and it's sort of what everybody else is doing, then I think we're on safe ground. If I had found that other communities were developing these, then maybe we'd have another conversation, but I'm not seeing that.
well, I certainly don't want something to be a maintenance nightmare on our part. You know, we don't really have the resources, and certainly appreciate all the work that John does for the website, but don't want to add a whole bunch of other, at least personally, I don't want to add a whole bunch of other work for John, so.
But so I did
We don't
provide.
pay you enough.
I did provide my memo, as well as the application that we did develop. If in fact you folks wanted to pursue that, whatever you decide to do is okay with us. We'll make it happen.
Well, what's the board's pleasure? Any other comments?
If we put everybody in, every business in town on the website, and somebody comes along, and we have a few contractors who come along and do not such a good job as they should, people are gonna come to the town and say, you're promoting this guy and he doesn't do good work. What are you gonna do about it? There are
That's certainly a risk that, and we'd have to have some sort of response to that and say, we're not, you know, we're not endorsing a business. We're just providing a quick little service so they can get some sort of publicity. But that would be my argument to that. That would be it, Phil. But yeah, you do run that risk.
I think Phil's spot on. I don't like endorsing businesses that we don't investigate, that we don't have necessarily just fill out a form. You know, you ask whether it's in good standing with the town. Well, are you in good standing with the state? Are you in good standing with, you know, IRS or other regulatory agencies? I mean, it could be a whole host of things. The town website says, what are you guys doing? They're ripped off.
Yeah.
most contractors will do a pretty good job in town. But we all know there are a few that don't do exactly what they say they're gonna do.
Some businesses, I'm not sure we want to endorse. I think a number of years ago, did we have something on Route 1? Less than something that want to see us endorsing as a municipality.
I agree, all or nothing, so I think it's nothing.
Jason?
Yeah, I know, I'm with the board, yeah.
Okay, well,
John's smiling, so I think he likes the.
Well, we know,
Nothing.
we know what it could create.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean,
And
yeah, I
it's-
mean,
it
appreciate
could
the
be-
effort. It's something
Yeah.
that, we're looking to, it's, it was brought up by a business owner, so.
But I don't think
Now-
John or I have any objections to a bona fide association, i.e. the chamber, or even if it was, even if,
Business
yeah.
association.
Yeah, if they want to, if they have a list of,
I would actually.
oh, okay.
The only reason being, if we refer this type of thing to the chamber, we're referring people to a website which the header on every page is gold Kennewood. I don't see us fitting in there. But that's just a personal opinion.
Right, and then you run into the argument where people are gonna say, well, I'm not a member of the chamber, but I like to be listed, so it's all or nothing, right? To me, either we list them in there, or we don't even provide a link to the
I
chamber.
think we're far better off to say, let's not do it. Take down what's on the website right now. Let's just write it off as bad.
People want to check with the chamber, go online and type in the chamber and get the chamber information.
And, I mean, originally I was looking for something, relatively easy, but there are a bunch of ways today that people can, if they're interested in Arundel, there's contact, right? There's the planner, there's a code enforcement officer, there's our fearless leader, there's all kinds of ways.
Well, all you have to do is if if you want a painting contractor in Arundel, Maine, just Google it.
Yeah.
And generally it's there.
Yeah.
You'll have some variety to choose from.
Really, the Historical Society's been looking for a painter
Oh, yeah.
for. So if
Okay.
you know one in Arundel,
We all set with that?
yeah,
Nothing, right?
Yeah.
All right,
nothing.
thank you.
Yeah.
Next item.
Well, the next item is just to talk about the TIF cottages, the approvals that were granted by town meeting votes as well as through the DECD endorsement. So there are a variety of issues that we can use the funding for besides the sanitary sewer construction. And I've provided you a list of what has been approved, which includes the Route 1 sidewalk, if that was something you wanted to do, a revolving business loan and or grant program, economic development marketing program, hiring economic development municipal staff, and having administrative and professional services costs associated with the TIF. What I did last week, and I had a meeting today, was with Southern Maine Planning and Development. And we talked, I explained to them what that the money's there and there are other options for us to consider within the approvals that have already been granted. And they thought maybe something that they could get around and assist us with would be the revolving business loan and a grant program, which would be townwide, not just within the TIF district, and provide an opportunity for either a low interest loan or a grant or some sort of for facade improvements, landscape improvements, gap financing, so on and so forth. So I'm not sure where the board would like to go. I was sort of leaning that way to try to work with the Development Corporation to see what kind of plan we could put together, how that would be managed. Obviously, I'd be leaning quite extensively on their expertise and what they could bring to bear on that project. So that was my thoughts. Again, you do have the option if we wish to gather more information or more options to consider. Not only will we have to go back to town meeting to seek approval for that, Well, we'd also get approval from DECD in order to modify that TIF to do it. So I was thinking within the TIF before we go outside that and do something else. So
So for the business loan grant program, are we sure that you could use that for businesses in a non-TIF designated area?
that is correct. You can. Yep. So you could use it townwide. You could do it for, those types of activities.
And who would set this up with interest rates, and if it's a loan payments, if it's a grant?
Well, again, the bottom line is developed by the Board of Selectmen.
Oh.
So what I would do is I would get the district, the Southern Maine Planning and Development involved, come forward with a proposal, discuss the proposals with you folks to see if it's something that's viable as we move forward. Just a thought.
I think, I think putting a committee together to maybe to discuss this, like I mentioned last meeting, in the near future through the winter months would be a good idea, but I forgot about the economic development staff. I mean, we might be at a point here where that might be a great fit for this town.
Have to do that again, right?
And maybe bring in a staff member that could concentrate on attracting businesses to town, or what the town needs for businesses. And this could go back to what we were just discussing before with the website. And maybe this is something for a new staff member that can take that ball and run with it. And I forgot about that approach, but, and then maybe this staff member could even handle what Velma just mentioned, where if we did establish a business loan program, then this economic development staff member could deal with all the payment process, the loan process, I still think we should maybe form a small committee and discuss this in more detail, but I think this town might be at the point where we could use a staff member like that. That's just my 2 cents.
I'm very reluctant to get into the lending industry. It's a good reason.
Yeah.
We don't want to be into collections and analyzing the potential. Somebody wants to loan money, and then if you have grants, then what's the criteria for these grants? I mean, it get complicated, real complicated. I'm not sure if I had done that. That's just.
I look at the grant process more of like, okay, so we're doing away with the sewer. So my idea of a grant process would be like maybe a non-payback type grant, where if a medical facility moved on Route 1 and needed to have a specialized, subsurface waste treatment system, maybe we can offer assistance to assist in the purchase of that system or something. Not, it might be pennies on the dollar, but not necessarily have anything that they need to pay back, but okay, we'd love to have your business in town. We understand that we can't offer you sewer, and we know your wastewater system is going to be $50,000. Well, here's a $10,000 grant.
You know what they'll do, is set up their own TIF district. That's what they'll try to do. If they come up with that kind of problem.
Well, that's got to go through the town though, right?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. But that's what typically happens.
Yeah.
Try to get municipalities to participate in that kind of project.
Yeah.
Do it too. They'll get a lot more money that way.
Sure. So where are we going with this? I mean,
What happens if we don't use that money?
Outside what we have right now.
what's that?
I think we gotta look outside.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have the possibility here of expanding the fire station, and that may be a result of, we've gotta have more equipment there because of the number of units that are in that.
Okay.
We can make that pitch, but I think that's a possibility under the statute.
Okay.
I mean, I haven't read the whole statute.
Yeah, I started thumbing through it. I wanted to make sure we were referencing what we had already approved, but I did notice the other things that are within that statute that could be available to that.
Right.
And I think that was in your packet too. You have all that information, so.
Yeah.
So are you more inclined, Tom, to think about what Jason is alluding to? Sort of putting together a group, trying to barn up some interest in working within this group to see how we're gonna do this?
I think he's got a good idea. I think we
Okay.
have to brainstorm.
What happens if we can't come up with anything to use this money? We just lose it?
The selectmen get raises, Dan.
Yeah.
It's different.
No, I think at some point, if it doesn't get used, I think it goes back on the,
General fund?
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's where it goes.
That's years down.
Yeah, it's 2040.
Right, yeah. Well, it's
It's
like
in-
15 now, right?
Well, it'd be 2040, so, and right now, just so you folks know, we have 519,000 sitting in that account. So, well, it's not as bad as what, the Southern Maine folks told me today. The town of Hollis has $3 million sitting in there because of, Poland Spring. And they still don't know what they're gonna do with it. So,
Jeez,
anyway.
we had that. We could then look at that sewer project. Yeah.
Well, I tell you, I like what Tom mentioned, if there's a way we can apply that towards expanding the fire station.
We have to buy.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think if you can make the connection, connect the dots, that has
Yeah.
something to do with the
Right.
district.
Yeah, because we certainly do need a new ambulance, so we will very shortly here.
And we need a bigger fire station.
And a bigger place to put it. If we
Yeah.
could work all of that, geez, we could almost pay for the whole thing right out of this TIF.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice to dream.
Yeah.
All right, I'll go ahead and we'll try to do some soul searching for folks that may be beneficial for this group and try to get something together. So I'm assuming that Jason's gonna chair it,
Yeah.
so we'll make that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. I totally agree.
Yeah, and
I think, what's his name in Kennybunk? They have so many tips going. It's like Osterstrom or,
You're asking me, and his name was brought up today by the Southern Maine folks.
he might be a
because-
decent resource just to
Yep.
pick his brain about.
Yep. Okay. Thank you for the direction.
okay. Next item on the agenda is the warrant.
Make the motion, we sign the payables warrant.
Motion by Velma,
Second.
seconded by Jason. All those in favor? Nope, that's my stuff.
I also, just while you folks are still looking at the warrants and assigning them, I did provide to you a copy of a summary sheet that was provided to us by our attorney. Indicated that when she looked at our charter, there's no legal opinions that she needs to provide simply because there's no petition articles within the charter that are being proposed. But she did say that she felt that the summary needed to be more embellished and that embellishment should not only be posted now, but also should appear in every ballot booth. So I provided that to you, so you see what the embellishments will be and what will be posted as part of her legal advice. And I think we took a stab at it, but I think they've gone a little bit further in terms of detail.
I guess so. I do have a few items. Have you heard anything more on the Proctor Road? How's that coming along?
Yeah, a couple things there. I spoke to the attorney based on your suggestions at your last meeting, indicated that we have broad discretion in how we wish to proceed. The homeowner has provided me 3 photographs. I've asked for permission to come onto the property to do physical review, not only myself, but the code officer, the fire chief, and we would hire a structural engineer to come along with us to take a look at the building now that it's cleaned, to make a determination of where they are in terms of the building. So that's my approach at this point. I don't want to be heavy-handed, but I do want to keep moving along down the road. So, and according to our attorney, that doesn't make us
It doesn't
leave
void
our
anything,
order,
yeah.
avoid our order. So we can exercise that at any time. So,
How long are we gonna give them before they get back to you and say? it's
well,
okay?
I'm gonna give them to I was thinking to the end of the month. I sent it out the first of last week, so that gives them plenty of time to see it and to call. And I indicated to them, please call me or come in and see me. And we'll set up a time. And then once I have some definitive date from them that we can come on site and take a look around, then I'll get a hold of an engineering firm to come along with us. So,
Just don't want this to drag on.
no, I don't either. I don't think anybody does.
Have you heard anything more from Roger about the tractor from RSU 21?
We have it.
Okay.
We went over and picked it up. I guess no other municipality wanted it. From what we can gather, there's actually nothing wrong with it.
Nice.
There was no hydraulic issues. I think what was happening is that they were asking the tractor to do more lifting than it was capable of doing. And so I think that was the issue more than anything. But our plan is, because it has turf ties on it, our plan is to use it for mowing along the Eastern Trail and get it set up for those types of activities moving forward.
Good. And I see that the playground equipment is here, or some of it,
It's here. It's all here.
all of it.
All of it's here, and we have it wrapped out back here, and it's covered. As it gets a little solid out there, Roger will get in there and start cutting some trees and prepping that. And then Jen will reach out to the company to provide the expert services that they need to come and put it up. But evidently it was on the truck from Alabama. It came up, and interesting, here they drive the truck in, a 53-foot truck, but have no idea how they're going to get that stuff off the truck. So, and I'm sure that Phil and Jason probably deal with that more than us lay people. But luckily we had the front end loader here and the forks on the Bobcat and the Public Works crew, and we got it off the truck. So it took a while, but we got it.
So the plan is to try to get that all done before the snow falls?
Well, it may be. If not, it will be there. I can't guarantee that. You know, we still got
a lot of work.
building that's supposed to be coming down here real soon. That's a focus that we're waiting for Dearborn to get to us, and they indicated to me they give me a week or 10-day notice prior to coming on, so we can finish off the DEP form form that has to go into the DEP to get that rolling. So
Good. Excellent, thank you. Anybody got anything?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Jason to adjourn. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Velmer
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
7:44 PM. Thank you very much. All those in favor?
Yeah.